Yo, I'm Narika, and this is the Bench World Cup edition. As you can see, I am a lone wolf today because Colin is not here, but there is still football to speak about, and the show must go on. As the final two African nations, Cameroon and Ghana, played their first games at the 2022 Qatar FIFA World Cup, which is super exciting because all of us went into the day hoping at least one of these African nations, if not both, would win a game and get those 3 points and score some goals because no African nation is scoring goals so far in this World Cup. The Indomitable Lions are the most decorated, I guess, African team in the FIFA World Cup sphere, as they've made the most appearances at a World Cup out of all the African nations, with this being their 8th World Cup and their best World Cup performance coming in Italy in 1990, where they went all the way to the quarterfinals and are possibly hoping to emulate that performance this year in Qatar. The Indomitable Lions got to the 2022 Qatar FIFA World Cup after knocking out Algeria to get all this way, which was super exciting because, you know, Cameroon, Indomitable Lions, they're always exciting to watch. There are a lot of stars and there's a lot of quality in this Cameroon team. So there's Bayern Munich forward Choupo-Moting, who's one to watch up front. There's also Carl Ikambi from Carl Ikambi from Olympique Lyonnais. This is his first World Cup, and he's coming off the back of scoring 5 goals at the African Cup of Nations and the goal that knocked out Algeria and led Cameroon to Qatar. So he's definitely one to watch, and we're hoping to get a lot of goals out of him. There's also Inter Milan goalkeeper Andre Onana, who, you know, is hoping to stabilize that defense and not let any goals go in. And then, of course, none other than the experienced captain Abu Bakr. If you followed the African Cup of Nations earlier this year, you know we on the bench spoke a lot about him. He is experienced. He is the guy that you want leading your team. He just is amazing, is great. Scores goals when needs goals to be scored, carries his team when his team needs to be carried. It is amazing. So their first game out, Cameroon in Group G, as I said, their first game out was against Switzerland. And, you know, they are like notable players in Switzerland. And this was the first time Switzerland and Cameroon ever faced each other. The game unfortunately ended 1-0. If you watch the game, I think a lot of us that were watching the game could see that Cameroon were on the brink of doing something and potentially scoring a goal. But the goal from a Cameroonian player came, but not from a Cameroonian player that plays for Cameroon. So Switzerland went 1-0 up and ultimately won the game after Bril Mbolo scored the winning goal for Switzerland. He did not celebrate because he actually is Cameroonian, technically. He was born in Cameroon, but has decided to play for Switzerland. So unfortunately, Cameroon could not score a goal or pick up those very much needed 3 points for an African team, but not as, all is not lost as they do go into their next game against Serbia, you know, hopefully wanting to win and score goals. And that was Cameroon. The Cameroon game was then followed by Ghana as the final African nation to perform or play their first game at the 2022 Qatar FIFA World Cup. Now, as a South African, I know I was on the socials. A lot of South Africans didn't know how to feel about Ghana because we're watching Ghana on screen and we all feel like that should be us there. But I'm not going to, if Colin was here, you'll tell me to leave it and let it go. I'm not going to bring up old wounds. I'm just going to let it go. Ghana is there. Bafana Bafana is not there. Ghana is still from Africa. And ultimately, we want an African team to do well. So Ghana finds themselves in a group where their first game was against Portugal. CR7, Bruno Fernandes, João Felix, all of it. But In saying that, the Black Stars have their stars, well, stars of their own. Thomas Partey, Amity, Andre Ayew. What is it, like a name for a person, like a household name? Like, he's been there. He's been the backbone for the Black Stars for a really long time. But the Black Stars are going into this World Cup as one of the youngest and relatively less experienced teams in this World Cup. They have played Portugal. Well, they did play Portugal prior to to this first game in this year's World Cup in 2014. At the World Cup in 2014 in the group stages, where Portugal did beat Ghana 2-1. So I feel like Ghana had some, revenge tactics. Like, they beat Nigeria. Well, it was contested, the game against South Africa, then went on to beat Nigeria, and now in the World Cup, and then, being drawn in the same group as Portugal that beat you in 2014 in a World Cup. Maybe it's time to do the things that need to be done. This is Ghana's fourth World Cup appearance, and their best finish was in 2010 when we, as a nation, as a continent, hosted the first World Cup on the African continent in South Africa, where they went all the way to the quarterfinals. Again, I don't want to bring up old wounds because I think we all remember what happened then. Okay? So the game started. I think a good result would have been as long as Ghana didn't lose. So now we didn't have goals from Morocco. We didn't have goals from Senegal. We didn't have goals from Tunisia. We didn't have goals from Cameroon. Ghana was our last hope in the first round of group stage games. All of us sitting here on the socials going, give us a goal. We need an African team to score some goals. They went into the second half after the first half going like, no, there were no goals going into the second half. We would have just taken the draw. Honestly, we could have just taken the draw. And then it was inevitable. Cristiano Ronaldo gets a pen, scores a goal. Portugal go 1-0 up. And then Andre Ayew, the guy, equalizes not long after. It is 1-1. Ghana is not dropping points. They're going into their group, collecting a point off Portugal. And an African team finally scores at the 2022 Qatar FIFA World Cup, which is super exciting because we've been waiting for an African team to score a goal. And then João Felix gets a break, gets a ball, scores a goal, takes it to 2-1. Then Portugal score again, and it's 3-1, and we are ready to call it a day because we are losing this game. But at least an African team has scored one goal in this World Cup. And then Jordan Ayew made it 3-2. And then we went into extra time, and there was a little scuffle in the box, and we could have equalized, and it could have been 3-3, but it was not meant to happen. The game ended 3-2 with Portugal winning, Ghana not winning. And I think the positive we took out of that game was that, one, Ghana, yes, might be one of the youngest teams at the World Cup, one of the less experienced teams at the World Cup, but they do have goals and they do have it within them to score those goals and play a game, not be a walkover team. And we had 5 goals in the second half, 5 goals in just the second half of the game, which was very exciting. And then their next game is against South Korea. And their final game would be against Uruguay, which we all know how that ended the last time. So hopefully it is better now. It's in the group stages. But Ghana are up against South Korea in the next round of games. So something to look forward to is Cameroon against Serbia. And then Ghana in their second FIFA World Cup 2022 Qatar group stage game against South Korea. So, I know I'm all alone, and this might have been weird, and you might have missed Colin. So drop a comment and ask Colin where he was in this video, in this episode. Also, let me know, Cameroon, Ghanaian fans, how did you think your teams did? Cameroon, should you guys have beaten Switzerland? What are your expectations against Serbia in your next game? Ghana, yes, unfortunately caught an L, but I think there were a lot of positives to take out of their game. What are we expecting from Ghana in this World Cup as Ghanaian supporters? Do you guys see yourselves getting out of those group stages? Cool. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It's all love. Until next time, we're in the World Cup.